For as long as I have been alive, I have lived on a farm/ranch. Growing up, I was an outdoor kid who loved to play in the mud, ride with my dad in the tractor, and help work cows. Many of the activities we do on the ranch help with conservation. We rotate cattle in pastures, rotate crops, use no-till crops, plant trees, and much more. I've done more for conservation as well. I have picked up trash in both Cologne and at my house and plan to hunt. These are all great examples of what I've done for conservation lately. One of the ways I have helped with conservation is rotating cattle in pastures. After the cows have been in a certain pasture for so long, we move them to a different one. This helps give the grass time to grow back, and so the cows don't graze the grass down too far. It also helps conserve resources and prevent selective grazing. By changing pastures, the cows are getting a variety of different grasses to eat. Some ranchers are on a 10-day rotation, while others are on a 2-week or monthly rotation. It all depends on how big the pasture is or how many cows are in a pasture. Rotating cattle in pastures is one example of what I've done for conservation lately. Rotating crops helps with conservation. Every year or every other year, we plant a different crop in a different field. This helps with soil moisture. Different crops bring in different amounts of moisture to the soil. Rotating crops also helps help control the weeds or the amount of weeds in the fields. Crop diversity through rotations such as alfalfas, pastures, or small grains is the first foundational step to better soil structure. So Dr. Singlad Snap, a professor and soil and cropping ecologist at Michigan State University. As well as rotating crops, my family also plants cover crops in our fields. Cover crops bring in nutrients to the soil. That is how rotating crops and cover crops help with conservation and how I have contributed to that. As well as rotating crops, we also use no-till crops. This means we do not till or disc the ground we use for planting. By doing this, it conserves the moisture in the soil. It also helps prevent erosion of the topsoil by holding the ground together. According to regenerationinternational.org, the Earth loses roughly 23 billion tons of fertile soil every year. One of the biggest contributors of soil degradation is the common practice of soil tilling. No-till crops also help with fertilizer costs because you don't use as much fertilizer. In addition, the nitrate doesn't run off the crops and into nearby water systems as much with less fertilizer. This is how no-till crops helps with conservation. Planting trees also helps with conservation. Planting trees is great for the environment. It clears out the carbon dioxide and provides us with oxygen. With the amount of pollution problems we have from carbon dioxide, the Earth could use more trees. The roots from the trees hold the ground together and prevent erosion. Planting trees also helps with the wildlife side of conservation. It provides shelter for animals and can be used as protection against the wind. Animals use trees often, and by providing them with more trees, we are helping them. That is how planting trees helps with conservation. Along with all those I have listed off, I have done more for conservation as well. I have been involved in many trash cleanups in town. Just recently, the FFA members and I picked up trash around the town of Cologne. This helps the environment in many ways. According to communityactionworks.org, Americans generate nearly over 250 million tons of trash each year. By cleaning up the trash, less trash is being blown into towns and road ditches. This causes less animals to eat trash and less waste sitting in pastures and fields. Hunting is another great example of what I've done for conservation. My dad, brother, and sister all hunt deer. I myself have never really gotten into it, but plan to take hunter safety course to get my license for the future. Hunting helps control the animal populations so certain species don't overpopulate and cause other species to go extinct. Those are the other ways I've helped with conservation. There are many ways I've helped with conservation. As a farmer/rancher, I'm always doing tasks to help with conservation. Rotating cattle in pastures, rotating crops, using no-till crops, planting trees, picking up trash, and hunting are all great examples of what I've done for conservation lately. I will continue to work towards conservation because it is embedded in my way of life. Thank you.